So today I'm going to tell you about Reitium, our company. We're based out of Vancouver, BC, and we're going to tell you how we are bringing real estate investing to everyone, and here's our journey. So who here owns real estate? How many people, by a show of hands, who actually owns real estate right now, anywhere in the world? How many people want to own real estate? Because that's looking like 20%. Well, when you look at real estate, you can see that real estate is actually the largest asset class in the world ever, and it's growing. So right now we're about 35% of humans live in cities. In the next 20 years, we're going to be around 70%. Right now, probably 100,000 people leave their villages every single day to go live in a city. The global middle class is growing at 140 million people per year. And so there's going to be a massive, massive increase, and this is happening mainly in Asia and Africa, but in the density of cities, the cities' real estate assets, and there's a major opportunity. When we look at the other asset classes, if we look at oil, 50 trillion, great, that includes reserves in the ground. It can be moved around in pipelines, or it can move by boats, etc. We look at stocks. Stocks is a very, very liquid asset. I think that was the first one that broke through and showed us what great liquidity can be. Gold can be transferred, but it's not as easy to trade. And then crypto came around, and crypto really showed us what great global, trustable trading and liquidity can happen. And so today we're going to talk about how when real estate and crypto combine, you can create something very, very special, which allows anyone in the world to buy and sell real estate assets. So real estate, $1.4 trillion moves every year. This includes commercial. This is the global movement of real estate. But when we go back and we see that we actually have 277 trillion, that's a small, small fraction. And the reason is buying and selling real estate is difficult, especially when you're looking at international transfers as well, but especially when you're looking at who actually gets excluded from this game. 90% of millionaires make their money through real estate. Real estate is very, very aspirational. We've gone all around the world, talked to people from all walks of life, and we see that this is not just the American dream, this is the world's dream, and we're going to make it easier for people to attain that. So when we look at it, investing in real estate is difficult. Either you don't have enough money, you can't qualify for a loan or a mortgage, you don't have enough for the down payment. You may not have the time to actually go and find the right asset or the time to manage that asset and get the right return. You may not have access. So we're very lucky living in North America. We were just in New York for Consensus. You know, there's such an established financial system all the way down to apps where you can buy an ETF or buy a stock. But most people in the world have access to their own city, maybe their own country, but they definitely don't have any way of accessing international real estate markets by themselves. Finally, experience. Even if you had the money and the time, how do you know that you're going to be able to buy a property, have time to manage it, and actually get that ROI? On top of that, when we look at even the biggest companies in the world that are already doing this, they have all the money, time, experience in the world. What their big pain point on the enterprise side is the moving of global money and the clearing of documents. Now, clearing and settlement and moving of money, these are one of the greatest things that blockchain can do. And so when we bring this efficiency to real estate, we're also able to help people from the Main Street to Wall Street have an accessible place to trade real estate. So when we look at our first customer segment, we're focusing on millennials, seniors, and people in the developing world. We see how they've been excluded as real estate goes up and up. They're not able to buy in. And what's the main reason for owning real estate, other than just the pride in ownership, owning your own home? It's that you have an income-generating asset. You have an appreciating asset. And so even though it may not be your own primary resident, having at least 20% of your investments in real estate, and in Asia, some countries, it's up to 50% investment portfolio is real estate, is something very great and stable, and something that more people should have access to. When we look at this segment, it's not just a feel-good story. I think the future of the world is do good, make profit in one breath, and there's $1 trillion worth of sleeping capital. That it is in bank accounts, it's under mattresses, that's not being deployed. So the average American millennial has about $5,000 saved. Now that may not be a lot, but the total 90 million millennials, which is 20 million more than the baby boomers, has $540 billion in savings. They're doing nothing with it because they don't think that they can participate in the capital economy. And so they're buying avocado toast, Gucci handbags, going to Thailand, everyday luxuries because they can't participate. In Japan, it's actually more. I think it's between $60,000 and $120,000 in savings. They have negative interest rates. There's nothing they can do in their country, so they're buying elsewhere. Our other customer segments, and this is why we say real estate for everyone, is family offices, REITs, solvent funds, wealth funds, venture capitalists, hedge funds. We actually have letters of intent from a Japanese company that buys real estate in the States. They've done 2,500 property deals, and they want to put on $40 million of properties on our platform to sell. That's about 200 to 300 units. We have another family office out of Chicago, and they want to do the same thing, about $40 million worth of real estate onto our platform in November. So it's really great to see the pain points of the average person and the pain points of venture capitalists coming together and seeing how our platform can actually help both of those parties. So when we look at the money, so we look at global millennial savings, and that's a gross underestimation because we're saying 90 million Americans have half as much savings as the other 2 billion millennials around the world. We only have hard numbers for the American number, so that's why we kept it very low estimate. But if we can take 1% market penetration and get those savings dollars invested in real estate, there's $600 million in fees that platforms like ourselves can gain over the next 5 years. So this is what we think the industry size is going to be, and we hope we can grab as much of that value as possible. When we look at the enterprise market opportunity, you can see that $7.4 trillion of real estate globally is under management. If we can do 1% penetration into that, that's $2.2 billion worth of fees. Not only the fact that if you make real estate digital using cryptocurrencies, then you're actually going to be able to double that number. So instead of that number just being 7 trillion, we could double that to 14 trillion under management, and that still wouldn't even be 1% of the global real estate pool. So there's a lot of opportunity here and a lot of space for players, competition, and people to be involved. So back to the problem. Real estate investing is difficult. How are we solving this? So Reitium is in development of the world's first crypto real estate exchange. Fully global, fully compliant, secure, and affordable. What does that look like? This global marketplace will take global capital from all over the world. And a global pool of capital will make it easier to pull together and crowd invest. A global pool of opportunities will allow you to have a very diversified investment portfolio. Imagine owning real estate on every continent in the world. Affordable entry point by using smart contracts and by doing all of the front loading of legal contracts and smart contracts, we can actually pass the savings on to each individual, allowing us to take on people for as little as $100. Right now, private REITs, if you invest $25,000, $3,000 of those dollars will be going to legal and accounting. So with a digital platform, we think we can reduce this by 90% and pass those savings on, allowing for an early entry point. Vetted property is very, very important. Every property that goes onto our platform is vetted both from a structural point of view to the legal framework of where it is to who owned it before, all the way to will this be a good investment. And we're going to be using property investment companies, realtors all around the world. We're building our network as well as working with IBM Watson to give each property an AI machine learning property score. So you know that when you go to invest, that a lot of work has been done in the back end. All that information will be listed on the blockchain, so if anything goes wrong, we have a chain of custody and a chain of responsibility, so we can go right back to where anything happened and find the right party that was involved. So we're using an enterprise blockchain, IBM Hyperledger Fabric. The reason we're doing this is Hyperledger Fabric came after Ethereum. A lot of people are trying to jerry-rig Ethereum to do things that it wasn't initially built to do. IBM Hyperledger Fabric, out the box, has been built for enterprise business solutions. So it's an amazing framework that we're using, and it allows you right off the bat to have a permissioned and private and public blockchain all in one. And we can talk about it afterwards if anyone wants to know more. They also have the ability for us to scale from 10,000 users to 1 million users without our internal team having to deal with that. They're currently, have done over 70 projects with Hyperledger. A lot of these projects are private, so the problem is the public only hears about the big ICO needing projects. They don't hear about the well-funded companies. So Amex, Starbucks, Post and Savings Bank of China, Bank of Canada, all these companies are already in development of Hyperledger projects, and we are the next one to come out. So let's see how our platform actually works. So step one, you do KYC. So we've built a KYC engine where people can scan their IDs in 20 seconds. We scan 1,000 databases with our partner iComply out of Vancouver, and you'll know if your ID is real or fake. You then load your wallet, and we have a AML partner, 2 of those. One is Blockchain Information Group. The second is SendWire. You can get money from anywhere in the world and load it into your wallet, and then give you a Reitium token. Our Reitium token is 1 for 1. When you load your wallet, it's loaded 1 for 1. You then go onto our app and you browse global marketplace opportunities, at which point the app will know, are you accredited or non-accredited investor? Based on that and based on your ID, it'll be able to show you unique opportunities that you can compliantly invest in. So you don't have to worry about compliance. The people putting up the deals don't have to worry about compliance. That is taken care of by the system, so no bad trades actually happen. We just stop trades from happening right off the bat. After that, when you've invested in a property, you actually earn monthly income as a dividend. That is why our platform is a security token platform. Those dividends can get paid in crypto, they can get paid in cash, or you can keep them in a USD account and do what you will with them. So just highlighting our KYC partner, iComply, 1,000 databases, 20 seconds, we'll know if your ID is real or not. AML partner just announced Blockchain Intelligence Group. They actually have a bit ranked score, so they will score a wallet for anti-money laundering, terrorism, bad use of proceeds, and they'll give us a score, and then from that score, we'll automate whether someone can actually get onto our platform or not. They'll also be adding more support for more different type of wallets towards the end of the year. Our payment partner, SendWire, we're very lucky that we get 0.7% transaction fees when people send us money. We have digital child wallets, so when we pay out, you have your own USD wallet where your money can sit, and then you decide where that money goes after that. We're then looking at Payment Rails, which is a company out of Toronto. They have a robust system, and they pay out to 220 countries. We haven't yet established a partnership with them. So let's just recap on how the token actually works. It is an equity security token. That means it's dividend producing. And what happens is when you hold those tokens, it's 100% asset backed. What that means is you are owning a portion of a company that owns that real estate. And so a lot of people are worried about the exposure in crypto. It might go up, it might go down. Here you have zero exposure even to the other properties. If you invest in property A and someone invests in property B, the valuation of property A goes up and down with independent appraisals on the property. It's just like you own the whole property yourself, except now you just own a fraction of it. So looking at a bit of the architecture, so what happens is each property is then put into a special purpose vehicle, which is a company. The title of that property is held in trust. And then the shares of that special purpose vehicle company is what's listed on our exchange. You load in with your wallet and app, and then you buy shares in that company. And then that company's shares equals ownership in the property. So it's a fully compliant legal framework. So it's not, this is what regulators have agreed to. You can do this without tokens, although it'll cost you lots of money to manage. So you actually have, even if anything happens to the platform, you legally have a cap table on paper in a lawyer's office that says you own a portion of a real estate asset. Now let's go to what's very simple. We're looking at people who may have never bought crypto before. We're going to be looking at people from all over the world. So we are building this mobile first. We also have a desktop application to make it accessible for anybody anywhere around the world to be able to just browse through like they were on Tinder, find a real estate asset and invest in it in a few clicks. So this is what our customers experience. So it's easy as just looking through, no sound please. Looking through properties, just swiping left and right, seeing a quick information on the ROI, how much the place costs, some pictures, who's backing it, how long, and then quickly with a few taps you're able to invest. We think an experience like this is going to be great for millennials, but the truth is when you design for millennial users, you actually make the platform easier for everyone because you keep it simple and you keep it clean. So let's see how it actually works. So you had a typical crowdfund. You had $1 million we crowdfunded on our platform. Then that gets bought at $1 million condo in Vancouver. We use a short-term rental example here just so you can see what the ROIs are different. 8% ROI is cash. So you're getting 8% cash on the money you invested, and then you might get 10% appreciation or whatever is in that year. So you get an 18% return, cash, and increase. The cash comes to your wallet. The increase is reflected in the value of your tokens. And so then you think of your tokens like a stock that can go up and down, but it only goes up and down based on the independent appraisals we do every quarter on that property. But now let's look at what else people want to do. So when we were in New York, the Wall Street teams that we met with, they want to use this for lending. They want to do mezzanine financing, they want to do new build construction financing, and those things will be available on our platform next year. We're not kicking off with them. So here's another different example. So imagine you had 3 properties. Instead of taking that $1 million, you take the $1 million and you actually take out 3 mortgages. Now what happens is you get rental return income on the 3 properties. 2 of the rental incomes from the properties pays for the mortgages and expenses for all. So the token holders still get 8% ROI on cash and up to potentially 30% on the tokens. So now they have 3 sets of tokens they can sell individually. What's great is, imagine you invested $100,000 in $1 million condo. You can sell $10,000 worth of your investment, you can sell $50,000, you can sell the whole thing. This is what crypto gives. When you tokenize, it gives you great liquidity and great options. So let's look at our revenue model. So when we look at the revenue model, we're looking at our forecast 3% buy and sell. So that's the only charge we'll be charging at the beginning on our platform. There are other revenue models that we are exploring, such as property management fees, custody holding fees, etc. But when you look at the potential here, with $2,500 million properties in 2020, that's $110 million in revenue potential. By 2023, and right now we already have about 600 properties in letter of intents. So we think we could hit that number maybe a year earlier. When we look at 2023, 20,000 properties, that's $1 billion in revenue. And when we see ourselves as an exchange, we're not the only people going to be putting up properties. We're going to be working with vetted groups all around the world, and we think we can hit these numbers with the partnerships that are already starting to come in. We're going to start with Vancouver. It's our launch city. Our CEO, Thomas Park, has sold $450 million worth of real estate in this city. He's an expert, and so we're going to start in our backyard, put Vancouver on the map for crypto in another way, and then we're going to expand out. So when we look at our team, we've been building a very strong team from around the world. Myself as CTO, put 3 apps in the App Store, been in technology for over 6 years. We have Laura Forte, our CMO. She's been in the marketing game for over 6 years. She's been a serial entrepreneur herself. I mentioned Thomas Park, our CEO. When we look at our advisors, we have support from across the board. We have advisors in Dubai who are experts at selling to government, who are actually working on a $140 million property deal that's going to be LOI'd and announced soon, but we can't mention that yet. Just to mention, our biggest advisor is Andrew Gillette. So Andrew was one of the 8 founding developers on the Ethereum team. He's just finishing up the Bank of Canada's Jasper project, and that's interbank transfers for the Bank of Canada. And so he's bringing this same level of architecture to our platform, and we're very excited to be working with him as well as IBM on the world's first crypto real estate exchange. So our roadmap, just going to go very quickly. First property will be summer. ICO will be in October. The rest will be launched later. We are doing a pre-private ICO round. That's a $10 million round. It's issuing out of Singapore. We're starting with Korean investors. We can talk to other accredited investors as well. But the total ICO will be 20 million soft cap, 100 million hard cap. And we'd love to talk to all of you about how we can make real estate for everyone possible. Thank you.
Great, thank you.